Welcome to Central Gov Strategy TV. Today I've got with me Mike Clasper, who is Non-Executive Chairman of HMRC. Welcome, Mike.
Hi.
Mike, you've been Non-Executive Chairman for almost 4 years now, and during that time you've overseen the development and the implementation of the HMRC vision. Could you tell us something about what that vision encapsulates and what impact it's beginning to have on HMRC?
Well, let me give you a little bit of context first. The department is the merger of Inland Revenue and Customs and Excise. Now that merger happened in 2004, but I think the department had not actually really worked out what the new combined department stood for. And one of the first things I did when I joined was to sit down with a top executive team who was struggling with that. And we sat down, spent a couple of weeks at it, but we effectively produced a very simple one-page document. Now in that document, we picked out the three things that we really needed to achieve. Right? One was to close the tax gap, right, which is reducing the gap between what should come in and what actually comes in. The second one was to make the tax system feel for our customers both simple, but also that we were dealing with them in an even-handed way. Now the tax system is very complex, but we wanted to make it so it felt simple. And then the third thing was to have a sort of sustainable cost base. And that sounds, sort of quite easy, but when you really boiled it down to those were the three things that we had to do, you start to realize that doing all three at the same time is very difficult. Do any two of them, spend as much money as you like and we can do everything. Forget about customer service and just get the money in, it works. But if you want to balance all three, it's really difficult. And that sort of brought to the department the fact that we couldn't do it just by doing more of the same. And that we couldn't do it just by planning on a one-year horizon, which I'm sad to say sort of was how it worked. So we then took out of that the need to develop strategies. We then developed strategies and it became very apparent that the best way of looking at doing what we had to do to meet those three challenges was to look at it through the eyes of the taxpayer rather than a type of tax, because historically it had been organised around a type of tax. So we then segmented the customer base using, did a lot of sort of extensive research and the sort of practical knowledge within the department, and then worked out what we do for each important subsegment, how we tackle them. And of course, if you've got somebody who is let's take an extreme, an organised criminal, right, at one end, and at the other end, somebody in, a normal citizen who's willing and able to pay tax, your approach is going to be obviously totally different. So we worked through for each segment what our strategies would be. It took quite a while to get there because people were nervous about sort of nailing down strategies in an environment where there was about to be a change of government. You remember, go back in time, this is about a likely change of government. And we'll have different ministers and they'll change their minds, and surely we can't define strategies that are going to last, as we said, over 3 to 5, possibly even longer years. But we got there. There was all this discussion about whether it was worth doing, would it stand the test of time. But I think one of the strong indications that it did was that when we came up to the spending review led by the new coalition government, the strategies that we'd confirmed under the previous administration formed the centre of the spending review. And the spending review, in a sense, fully endorsed this customer segment approach to doing the work of HMRC. And so now we're getting on with it. And there are certain areas where we've made immense progress, where we are doing the things in an innovative new way that we weren't doing before. But there's some areas where we've still got a lot of work to do. And I think the thing that struck me, the biggest piece of work that we've got to do, and it's still not happening, is people saying, I know what the right thing is to do because I understand the strategy. I mean, we're doing lots of things that fit the strategy, if you like, driven by the leadership team, but we haven't quite you know, the more junior people in the organisation saying, I know what to do because I know the strategy. So I mean, that's the big push that we've got to do over the next few years.
So you've just talked about strategy, but the vision was put in place in 2008. Are the two the same, or and what differentiates them?
Well, I mean, you know, you can sort of read all these books about visions and strategies and all that sort of stuff. What the vision was about was trying to distill down what have we really got to do, if you like, what's our purpose, and some work on our values. One of the things that you know, always stands out in my mind is a phrase that's in the vision that was battled over long and hard, which the phrase is, you know, we're passionate in helping those who need it and relentless in pursuing those who bend or break the rules. It's interesting which is the most important word in all of that long sentence, right? The most important word is and, because the debate was should we be one or the other. And in fact, if you think of what I've just been talking about, customer segments, we actually have to be both, right? So it was really defining a set of core values and a core purpose. You know, get the money in, the customer experience and the cost base. What you then need to do, when you know what your objectives are, what you then need to work is how are we going to deliver that over time, as opposed to what do we have to do to this year's annual plan and how do we have to change it. And I think that's the distinction I would make between the vision, which was saying where we want to be, and the strategy, which is the path there that is not a plan, but is a set of, sort of, a sense of direction, a set of principles.